In this portion, Yaakov is going on a journey and leaving his home in Beersheba, going to his mother's family, his uncle Lavan, who lives in a completely different environment than the environment of Israel. And this portion in general, we have here the adjustment of Yaakov, meaning the adjustments of ourselves when it comes to new environments, whether it will be a physical environment that we will encounter with or we will go to, or whether it will be even a different environment in our mental state, if we will go out from thinking several things or certain things and understand that now it is the time to enter and some other scope of understandings in regards to our solutions or our state of mind, or to figure out new paths within ourselves. This portion talks about the challenges and the changes that new environments bring with, and it helps us also to adjust to new environments and to understand how exactly are we to conduct ourselves, how does a person will conduct himself in a different environment that he encounter. Again, whether in physical environment or whether in a different state of mind. Sometimes we enter from one state of mind and go to another state of mind, and there is a balance to do, and there are things that we need to say from that state of mind to this state of mind, and there are virtues we need to keep no matter where we are. So this portion basically will talk to us about those things. So we all live in several environments during our life. Our homes, our workplaces, and the social environments we create are within our sphere of influence usually. There are small systems, and as such the contribution each person makes in this environment clearly affects the environment. However, there are also larger environments. Our community, the country we live in, the world at large. Those environments, in those environments, our influence is not that strong. And these, unlike the other environments, also often to force us to adjust to them. As they are completely different than what we know usually. So Parashat Vayetse focuses, as we said, on the transition from one environment to another environment, and the changes and the challenges that this shifting in environments can bring about in person's conduct. Vayetse means, and he went out. We're talking about Yaakov, and the reading described how Yaakov departed from the land of Israel, from Eretz Israel, and went to Haran, an alien environment he never been before. The Hebrew word Haran is associated with anger, and thus our sages interpret this name as referring to the arousal of God's anger. Not that God had any anger towards Yaakov at this timing, but he wanted him to go to that exact environment on this specific timing for a reason. There are 3 dimensions to Yaakov's stay in Haran, and by looking at those dimensions, we will be able to also take from that what we must understand regarding to our way of looking at the different environments that we enter to. Now, first of all, Yaakov was confronted by a personal challenge. In the company of Lavan and other like Lavan, he had to struggle to maintain his virtue. Haran means a personal challenge in maintaining our virtues despite the changes of the environment. Also, during his stay in Haran, Yaakov built his family, married his wives, and even fathered 12 of his 13 children. Despite the influences that prevailed in the community at large in Haran, he infused his children and his wife with the spiritual heritage that he received from his grandfather and father. He elevated the entire community there. He elevated Haran, he elevated the entire environment of Haran, lifting up the godly sparks that enclosed in that land's material substance. So we can maybe understand from this that when we come to a different environment, when we come to a new place, whether it's again a physical place or a mental state of mind, two things are extremely important. The first thing is to elevate whatever we encounter with to Hashem, to elevate the sparks, to look at everything and to know that everything belongs to God and everything have inside it godly spark, whether it's a material substance, whether it's a thought or an emotion. This is one thing that is important for us to remember, to do this. And the second is to in a way, keep our virtues, keep our spiritual heritage. No matter where we are, physically or mentally, there is the spiritual heritage we have received. We have our virtues. We must use them no matter what the environment we encounter with. As we can see, the endeavors we face through the story of Yaakov require unique spiritual power from Yaakov and from us, because it is challenging to leave an environment and to go on a journey anytime. By overcoming the personal challenges posed by his surrounding, Yaakov showed the infinite power of the divine or the divine soul, and showing us that even in a hostile environment, God exists, and God helps and is there to protect and to take good care of us. By raising a family, he extended his circle of influence, enabling it to encompass other. We know that Yaakov, just like his grandfather Abraham, he influenced outside whatever he inherited. He influenced to the belief in God outside the land of Israel. He needed to go out from Israel and to influence to other people what he have learned. An interesting thing in this portion also are Yaakov's dream. So although usually we refer to one dream in particular, the dream of the ladder, there is a second dream in this portion, a more subtle dream that we usually don't even pay attention to, because it happens, because so many things happen in this portion. Yaakov is marrying Rachel and Leah, Zilpah and Bilhah, and he's fathering the 12 children, and he's negotiating with Lavan on the goats and the sheep, and then he flees from Lavan. So this dream is right there where all those things happen, so we usually don't pay attention to it. But Yaakov had two dreams, so also we can maybe now begin to understand why when his son Yosef, when we will see it in portions to come, but when Yosef came to him with the two dreams that he have, being very specific about the dreams and telling his family what he saw in the dream, Yaakov was silent. And maybe when reading this portion here, we may start understanding why. Because Yaakov as well had this visionary aspect of recognizing God's existence in this world through his dreams. And this is an important thing in Yaakov. We saw that he saw the ladder, God was standing on the ladder, the angels going up and down the ladder, and then God promised him that his seed shall be as the dust of the earth, and you will spread north and west and east and south, and you'll be blessed. All the families in the earth will be blessed by you. So he receives a huge blessing from the first dream of the ladder, but he also receives another blessing from the other dream about his wealth, about his ability to return to the land of Israel, about the fact that God is protecting him and taking care of him. So we need to remember those are two dreams that Yaakov had. One was just before right after he went out from Israel. This blessing was in regards to his seed and his existence. It was like a promise for him that the fact that he's leaving now the land of Israel do not affect the blessings that he already have in that term. But also after he negotiated with Lavan, and after Lavan was very cheaty on him, then he had another dream in which God by an angel, promising him that he saw what Lavan is doing to him, and he shall not be, and he will not let him down, and he shall not be afraid, and regarding more about his wealth in the second dream. So we know that Yaakov is the father of this, or is signified by truth. He teaches us to have a complete confidence and faith and reliance on Hashem, in Hashem. He teaches us to trust the divine and to believe in God's will, to always make everything the best for us. Yaakov acquisitions of wealth and the refinement of the environment symbolizes and represents a far greater extension. The material possessions acquired by Yaakov were not by nature holy. On the contrary, without Yaakov, Haran environment was even, all its elements aroused God's anger. But by elevating this environment, Yaakov was thus working to fulfill the purpose of creation, showing how even the lowest dimension of creation, of existence, can be transformed into a dwelling place for God. And in this matter, he set a pattern for us and for all his descendants, demonstrating how they would become God's partners in creation. And just as Yaakov, we are also would go on a journey throughout the world to uncover the spiritual potential invested in the different element of existence, revealing that everything that created in his word, he created solely for his glory. So Yaakov is identified with the quality of truth, for truth has the dimension that transcends mortal limits, being above all possibility of change or interpretation. With truth, one can reach out and change environments and change the world that he lives in, for nothing can oppose the truth. Truth is the greater force, and Yaakov is the one that holding his force in his hand. Yaakov is described as receiving a heritage that has no boundaries. The truth has no boundaries, and is giving the blessings in both dreams. The first about his seed, and the second about his wealth, and his reliance on Hashem, the fact that he can trust Hashem. For as evidenced by his journey to Haran, and later to Egypt, Yaakov is a figure that was able to elevate even foreign settings. On the way to Haran, he experienced a vision of God, which God promised him, I will return you to the soil. This indicates that Yaakov's mission to go to Haran and the mission of the Jewish people at large to make the world a dwelling place for God are not ends of themselves. Yaakov was not intended to stay in Haran, and our exile too will come to an end. For every Jew's true place is in the land of Israel, whether it will be the physical land of Israel or the concept of the land of Israel, which is the more of the Kabbalah way of looking at it. There is a concept of the land of Israel, which is not less important than the actual country dwelling itself. So Yaakov went on an individualization journey, expelled or fled his own home. He had to experiment the walking into the unknown, just like his grandfather Abraham and his mother Rivka. Time and time again in the biblical story, and especially in the book of Roots, in Bereshit portions, we see that mental process require mental training. It is necessary for one to experience the degrees of evilness in order to recognize and better understand the good. We saw this in Noah, we saw this in Abraham, we saw this in Yitzchak with Esav, we saw it Yitzchak Ishmael, we saw it in Yaakov Ishmael, we even saw it in the Garden of Eden with the snake and man and the woman. There is always good and there is always evil, and the way for us to be able to keep the good, or to that the good will overcome the evil must exist, and those two are in a way intertwined, and those two are two forces in a constant struggle. that is there from the beginning of things. So also here, it is necessary for Yaakov to go to Haran to understand evilness from first degree in order to better understand later the good that exists alongside evil within the human soul and outside of it. Individualization is a mental process that imposes itself on a person, and as such the first step toward individualization was indeed forced upon Yaakov, who had to expel from his house. In order for him to develop within himself new emotions, experiences, and understandings, he needed to encounter with new sights, new smells. He needed to face different worldviews, different opinion, different beliefs, different concepts, which will assist him on his way to self-realization. Because when we see a lot of things surrounding us, we know how to focus ourselves. This is what Yaakov has been asked to do without really saying, literally. And now we will go to the dream that he had. And he arrived at the place and lodged there because the sun has set. And he took some of the stones on the place and placed them at his head. And he lay down in that place. Now, usually, there are not so many times that one word is appearing in one sentence, in one verse. But in this verse, the word place repeats itself 3 times. And as such, it has an exceptional significance that we must understand. This place Yaakov found or came across with is not only a physical place, but is also a sacred or a very divine spiritual place. Sometimes on a journey we come across places that the meaning of them or their importance to our future would remain hidden from us. We are to talk, to roam, to rove, without really understand the high value of our actions. We are to wander around aimlessly and trust the divine that we are on the right track, that we are on the right path, each time making the right move that will help us to get where God aims us to. Then after Yaakov reaches this place, he then took some stones and placed them under or at his head. This act of ritual Jacob did seems to have been performed there had deep symbolic significance. And that is because the stones carry with it several meanings. And also, by the way, in this portion, we have the stone/stones in Yaakov's dream, but we also have the stone on the well, and those are connected. So it is the essence stone, it is the essence of everything that is earthly and stable. A stone is a concentrated power, eternal and unchanging. For example, we have the huge tombstones in the Golan area and in other areas in the land of Israel. We know of the Stonehenge in England. We have the Kaaba in Mecca. We have the stones of the altar, the drinking stone. The stone is an element which belongs to the natural world, but symbolizes a connection with divinity. Also, the stone symbolizes within it both the feminine and masculine aspects. It possesses a masculine spiritual spirit, a symbol of eternity, the foundation of the world. We know it's a stone, and with it, also it possesses feminine powers. In Kabbalah, the stone symbolizes the kingship attribute, the malchut count, which is the most feminine attribute of them all. And we learned in Lech Lecha portion, if you remember, this feminine attribute opened the gates to the godly abundance and to all other sfirot, all other counts, godly forces, to a human being in this and to the world. In the stone, we have female content inserted into masculine material. So we have female content into masculine material, and this is what we can call a natural coupling that is happening there. Because as we know, one's greatest spiritual achievements in life is the pairing between his masculine and feminine qualities, the coupling between Tiferet and Malchut attribute, between the aspects of the soul of the male and the female, and also, as we will see in continuation, between Rachel and Yaakov. So, and indeed the stone or the stones Yaakov put under his head open up for him the spiritual realms that emerge from the dream he dreamed. The stone equips him with supposedly powers or feminine qualities that he didn't have before, the openness to sensitivity, to absorb what emerges from the unconscious, from the spirit realms, from the transcendent worlds. The dream revealed in Yaakov's mind parts he was not aware of before in his own perspectives, pointing to conflictual observances in regards to himself, and of the possibility or the solution lies within his scope of wherever he is and whatever he is doing and the place that he's about to go to. The dream offered him with the security and protection of his ancestors, who also naturally linked him with the great power of the divine, the great Father Hashem. The letter also has lots of beautiful signifies things in it, and the angels and the stone and the connection between those and Rachel, but unfortunately we don't have time to talk about everything. So I hope you'll take this week and understand that there is a journey awaiting, and there is several environments in which you must understand how to work in keeping your virtues and maintaining your spiritual forces no matter where you are, whether it will be physically or mentally, emotionally or spiritually. Have a Shabbat Shalom, and I'll see you hopefully next week.